What's going on, YouTube? It's Minnesota Burns, and thanks for stopping by. It's a happy Sunday afternoon to you, or evening, night, whenever you're watching this video. I thank you for stopping by, and be sure to subscribe at the end of the video. I'm not going to talk too much about the gameplay today. Mostly going to be by what the title says, and that's I'm going to talk about how badly the Minnesota professional sports teams suck. But as for the gameplay, it's just domination on Phelan. It's actually a pretty close game, which is why the video is so long. But let's get right into it here. The last time, and I'm just gonna warn you before I get going here. I'm gonna be very sarcastic, so don't take offense to anything I really say or anything like that. It's all in good fun and humor. So that's my sense of humor. Hope you enjoy it. But anyways, the last time the Minnesota sports professional team won a championship, and this again is just strictly professional teams, not college teams or anything like that. So if you're from Minnesota, don't send me a comment about how the Gophers hockey team has won national championships. This is professional teams and why they suck. And I'm sure people watching from Minnesota agree with me. If you're not from Minnesota, hopefully you find the humor in this. So, well, maybe your team has beaten up on us before. Last time Minnesota professional team has won a championship, 1987 and then 1991. Both Minnesota sports team, Minnesota Twins rather, won the World Series. And in '87 I was 1, and in '91 I was 5. So in other words, too young to remember and too young to care. But we'll kick it right off with the Minnesota Twins. Since 2002, I'm not. This is just off the top of my head here. 6 division titles since 2002, and actually in the last 14 playoff games, we've actually been really competitive and made it really close and interesting. In the last 14 playoff games, we've won a total of 0 games, so doing pretty well there. We're just not getting over the hump. And in 9 of those 14 games, they're against the New York Yankees. We've been swept by them 3 times in the playoffs over the last whenever since '02, and we've been swept by them for the last 2 years as well. A couple years ago, we won the division in the tiebreaker game against Detroit, and then we flew right to New York, and they took care of us real quick in 3 games without even blinking an eye, and no one really gave a shit. And then this year, the Twins fans were really pumped up. We had the new stadium, Target Field, which by the way is gorgeous. It'll be great if we can ever get to a World Series, crying out loud. And we won the division with like 2 weeks or something like that to go. We had a lot of time to rest our players. And then we drew the Yankees, and they beat us in 3 games without blinking an eye. And this time I was really, fucking pissed off because I thought, this time we're gonna beat those goddamn Yankees. No offense to Yankee fans, you piss me off because you're good, okay? It's not because I fucking hate you because I hate you. I hate you because you beat us every goddamn year, and you're fucking good, okay? And it's not even fun anymore playing the Yankees in the playoffs because they would beat us every time. We could go 162-0 this coming year, and we would draw the Yankees in the first round, and they'd beat us in 3 games. And I would probably fucking cry myself to sleep. That's all I want to say about the Minnesota Twins. They're a lovable team no matter how many times they break my heart. They're a really fan-friendly, family-friendly team, and I love them. But god damn it, please don't let us play the Yankees in the playoffs this year. I don't think I can do it again. It's heartbreaking. But moving right along to another one that's broken my heart many times, probably more than the Twins, are the Minnesota Vikings. And I just get, the blood starts to boil when I start talking about the Vikings. We're going to start it off with the last 3 times they've been to the NFC Championship, starting from 1998 and going into 2009 or whatever it was, 2010. I don't even remember. 2010, I don't even know. That's how much they pissed me off. But anyways, in 98, pardon me, I just burped. We played the Atlanta Falcons, and Gary Anderson never missed a frickin' field goal all season. And of course, the one that would have pretty much sealed the deal, he misses it, and then Atlanta goes down and ties the game, and they beat us in overtime. And I was in 7th grade, and I was playing basketball that night, and I think everyone had tears in their eyes. It was like heartbreaking. But anyways, we were going to come back strong, and a few years later, we were back in the NFC Championship, and we got to go out to New York and play the Giants. And my God, did we put a solid effort in against the Giants. They beat us 41-0. Now, that's a pretty competitive game if you ask me. I'm not saying that's a blowout in an NFC Championship game, but let's be honest, you got to play a little bit harder than that. 41-0. I mean, it's the championship game, go to the Super Bowl, and you just wet the bed. I mean, honest to God, 41-0. I think the game was like 20-0 at the end of the first quarter, and I was like, oh fuck. But that one was a little bit easier to take because we just kind of bent over and took it. and flew back to Minnesota with our tail between our legs. But don't worry, we'll get back to that one day. And lo and behold, we did. We got Brett Favre, which is a whole other topic I could, rant about. But we got him. And I remember sitting in my basement against the Saints. And I was at my friend's house in the basement. And time is winding down, and Saints have no timeouts left, I think. And we get down there, and I'm like, holy shit, we're in field goal range. We can run the clock out. Ryan Longwell is clutch. I'm looking at my friends. I'm like, holy shit, we're going to go to the fucking Super Bowl this year. This is really happening. But shame on me for thinking that. There's some asshole out there. I'm convinced there's an asshole that was born in 1991, and he grew up, and his job is to go to Minnesota sports players and tell them, you are not allowed to win a championship. There's an agreement with the fucking devil. And I'm going to find this man one day, and I'm going to scream at him, and I might kill him. Someone's going to have to hold me back. But I was like, oh my god, we're going to go to the Super Bowl. And this guy, comes out of nowhere, and he goes up to Brett Favre and he says, you know where you're playing, right? This isn't Green Bay. This is Minnesota. We don't win championships here. And then he looked at Ryan Longwell and he said, what are you doing, cocksucker? You think you're coming in the game. You go sit down. Brett Favre's going to throw an interception, and we're going to lose in overtime. And that's what we did. And fuck you, whoever told Ryan Longwell to sit the fuck down and not kick the goddamn field goal to go to the Super Bowl. Anyways, whew. One more thing about the Vikings is they suck at drafting. I was listening to the wonderful people at Phelan, and I heard something that we're going to draft Cam Newton, and I will find the scouting department, and I will scream at you not to draft him, and if you do, I'm no longer a Vikings fan. Count that, write it down. You draft Cam Newton, I will not cheer for this team. Do not draft him. He is the next Jamarcus Russell. Do not draft him. Moving right along. Whew. Talking about Minnesota sports and the ways they've let me down is just boiling the blood. But moving right along to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Not going to say much about this. No offense to NBA fans, but the league is a fucking joke. Corrupt refs. I swear to God the games are fixed. It's all about marketing and money with TNT and ESPN and NBC and whoever the hell puts basketball games on TV. And I swear to God half the players are fucking criminals. I used to be a really big fan of the NBA when Kevin Garnett played for the Timberwolves, but ever since he's left, I haven't watched, I don't think, an entire NBA game, let alone a Timberwolves game. And actually, someone called me up a couple weeks ago and said I got 4 tickets to the Timberwolves game, and I wanted to ask him to think about what he was asking me. And I can't believe someone would want me to go to the Timberwolves game. You would have to pay me to go. You probably couldn't even pay me. But moving right along from that, I'm not going to talk about the T-Wolves. I mean, they lost. The one thing is they lost in the first round for like 8 straight years, and I don't really care anymore. I hate the NBA. That's just my opinion. And moving right along, as we have a couple minutes left to go in this video, the Minnesota Wild, one of the more lovable, popular teams in Minnesota. And they haven't really broken my heart. They have disappointed me a few times, and they suck shit at drafting players. But anyways, in 2003, they went on a run. They went to the Western Conference Finals. They were a really young team, and of course, that guy from the '91, the guy who was born in '91 and told the Vikings they weren't allowed to win a Super Bowl. He was back in 2003 with the Wild after they went to the Western Conference Finals, and they looked our coach and the players in the eyes and said, "What the hell do you think you're doing? You've only been in the league 3 years. You better go out and shit the bed against the Ducks." And that's exactly what we did. We got swept in 4 games by the Anaheim Ducks. So, we scored it was a scoring fest in that series. I mean, we scored 1 goal in 4 games. 1. I mean, John Sebastian Gier was the goaltender at the time, and I swear to God, he stood on his head the entire series, and with his middle finger in the air, and every shot we took, he said, "Fuck you, you're not scoring." And then we finally did score, but it didn't matter. We lost the game anyways. So, I'll just go into one thing. I mean, they've made the playoffs a few times. That was the furthest they got. I love the Wild to death, so I can't really rip on them, but they suck shit at drafting. I am so glad Tommy Thompson is not the director of scouting anymore. And they traded away a bunch of picks for no reason, for garbage players. And I'm just going to go down the last 5 first-round picks. This is in no particular order, but I'm just going to name off their last 5 picks just so you know how much they suck, and I'll tell you where the player is today. Number 1, A.J. Phelan. Probably never heard of him. Even if you are a hockey fan, you've probably never heard of him. Well, that's because he's not in the league anymore. But we thought he was a first-round material. He's bad. Benoit Pouliot, he was supposed to be phenomenal, but his ego is like through the roof, and we traded him to Montreal, and well, surprise, he sucks there too. And then there's Tyler Kuma, who I had really high hopes for and still kind of do. He was the best defenseman in that draft, but he's had knee problems, and now apparently he's just terrible in the minors. So my God. And then James Shepard. I mean, anyone that's a Minnesota fan or a Minnesota Wild fan will hate this asshole. James Shepard, he scored more goals than Sidney Crosby in World Junior, in not the World Juniors, but the Canadian Junior League before he was drafted, and then he turned into a checking player that can't score. But anyways, this season he went out to Colorado a week before training camp and he broke his kneecap, so he's out for the year. And they told him he was on his last draw, but whatever. And then we got Colton Gillies. Still have high hopes for him, but he was supposed to be a third rounder, and we took him in the first round. Whatever. We got 20 seconds left here. Thanks for watching, guys. Comment, subscribe, rate the video, like it, whatever. Send me a message. I appreciate you guys stopping by, as always. I'm looking to build the audience up, so if you liked what you see, just let me know. And we'll see you next time. Have a good night and have a good week.